Hi, welcome to Making Sense of Movies. This is Alaina.
I'm Claire.
And today we're going to talk about camp movies.
Which camp is exaggerated, or movies that have exaggerated thematic or genre elements. But it's kind of broad because...
It's very subjective.
Yeah, it is very subjective because there's definitely movies on here which I feel like aren't camp.
Or people might not characterize as outwardly camp. But these are movies Claire and I thought fit the category.
Yeah.
So let's start with our first one.
Okay.
A classic, Young Frankenstein.
Young Frankenstein. What did you... So this was your first time watching it?
Yeah, so I had never seen Young Frankenstein before. I've been told to watch it multiple times. First reaction, I really liked it. I thought it was pretty funny, but in a more subtle way. I liked how they used like older movies as their kind of backdrop to make fun of. One of my favorite scenes is when Victor Frankenstein, not Frankenstein, is going to Transylvania, and he's saying goodbye to his girlfriend, and it's like this classic, like old Hollywood going away, but she's like, no, don't touch my hair, don't touch my lips, don't do anything. Yeah. So I really liked that. I also thought that it was a fun take on Frankenstein.
Yeah, no, it was a really good take on Frankenstein. I'm trying to think what I liked about it. There was just, like, so many...
You make it seem like you didn't like anything.
No. It's just, like, very... Because a lot of it is just the Frankenstein movie, just with comedy elements to it. So, like, a lot of the moments that I want to talk about, like, they're all the comedic moments.
Yeah.
Like, at the beginning, when he stabs himself in the leg, when he's, like,
yes.
scolding people about his name, Frankenstein
really
versus Frankenstein. And I think, you know who, I've already seen this before, but watching it again, Igor really steals the show for me.
Igor does, with his hump.
With his hump that changes sides. I thought that was funny.
Scene.
And then I'm trying to think what else. A lot of good puns, too, like their wolf, their castle.
Yeah. I also like when he finds... like how Victor Frankenstein did it. It's literally a book saying how I did it.
Yeah.
That was really funny. Or when the girlfriend, she's like, I was his girlfriend. And she like plays the violin.
Yes. Oh, right, because she was like, yes!
Yes! And then he's asking questions. She's like, yes! And she plays the violin, like, violently.
Yeah, so I guess that's the part about it that it was like, it's the horror genre, but like, well, not really horror, but that part of it, it's totally exaggerated. Like, I would say out of this, the dialogue is what's exaggerated the most.
I like when they're doing the charades.
Yeah,
for,
the charades is good.
For, what was it? The sedative? Sedative? Sedative.
Yeah. And there's just some parts that, like, there was some parts that were funny, and then some parts that were so stupid, they were funny. Like when Igor says, could be worse, could be raining, and then it starts raining.
Yes.
That's just so obvious. Like, if a character says that, it's gonna start raining, which is, like, why that part's funny about it.
I also feel like it's very kind of exaggerated because it's, like, a satirical take on what would be, like, the horror genre in, like, the old Hollywood way. Like, I remember watching the beginning, and I'm like, oh, so they want you to think this movie is serious. Like, I knew going in it was a comedy, but, like, if I had never seen, like, a trailer or heard of it, like, it starts off with, like, very serious music. It's black and white. All of the credits are, like, first, and I don't know if that's just because it's from 1970s. I don't know when they started doing credits at the end of the movie. Yeah. But I remember being like, cool, when is the movie going to start? I forgot about this.
I think the best scene, though, is the scene with the policeman, and Frankenstein is pretending to, like, use the dead man's hand as his own. Yeah. That part, I thought that one was really funny. It's just, like, all very clever, I think.
I liked the blind guy. When he's praying and Frankenstein comes, or I guess it's Frankenstein's monster, comes in, and he's just trying to, like, eat. Like, he's pouring soup on him. Like, it's all that stuff that, like, I felt that, like, if it was happening now, I would not have thought of it as so funny. But I think, like, Mel Brooks, I think that's who wrote the movie. Yeah. He just did such a good job. Yeah. It was very well done.
And I just really love this movie because in high school, I was a big fan of the Frankenstein book.
I didn't even read the book.
Yeah, no, it's super different because it's, like, the Dr. Frankenstein is on, like, a ship the whole time. And then this was ages ago, but then the monster comes to stalk him down, like, somewhere and he's, I don't know, maybe in Antarctica or something crazy like that. But I liked the monster in this. I thought it was funny how he gets with the girlfriend at the end. I forgot about that part and I really just wasn't expecting it.
I wasn't expecting that either, the ending, because like they make it seem like it's going to be the, you know, classic Frankenstein ending. They kill the monster, they have like this big mob, and then I remember watching it and I'm like, oh, they're gonna switch brains. I'm like, that's kind of weird, why would he do that? And then at the end of the movie, it's like Gene Wilder, the like, I don't know, what is it, a Transylvanian girl, a German girl?
Yeah.
It's like, why would you do this? And he like makes a noise and you're like, oh, because he wants to be with you. But like, yeah, that was like a little tasteless, but it was still funny, but probably not, it didn't age as well.
Yeah, but there wasn't that much that, or I don't know.
Well, anytime like the monster had like sex with one of the women, they were like, no, and then they like liked it, and I was like,
yeah,
I feel like if you wanted them to have sex, you could have just had both willing, instead of like, because
that probably would have been more fun.
Funny, instead of like this, oh no, I don't want this, and then like, oh, but I do now. So
yeah.
That part when I was watching it, I was like, it could have been done a little bit better. But it's from 1974, and like, let's face it, some of the movies we have on this list did not age well.
No, we'll talk. One of these movies that we'll talk about later very much did not age well.
No, not at all.
Based from that, the movie we're going to talk about, from Young Frankenstein, like...
No, Young Frankenstein was good. I liked it. I would definitely recommend it. If you haven't, I think it's definitely the oldest movie on our list so far.
Yeah. Has it been the oldest movie we've talked about in general?
I think so.
I think so,
1974, I think, is when it came out. I think besides that,
when?
Oh, wait.
Fright Night might have been earlier.
I think it was 1980s.
Okay.
So, yeah, 1974. It's our oldest movie, but we're going to talk about older ones. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Perhaps. We'll have to see.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other one thing I want to say about this movie is, I think it was funny how everyone in the village, like, as soon as Frankenstein comes back into town, and he's the grandson of the real Frankenstein, everyone's like, oh, we gotta go check on him, make sure he's not doing the same things. Which, like, if I was in that scenario, I would think, like, that's so stupid. Why would someone who's just related to this other guy be doing the same things? But then they were just dead on, because he was absolutely doing the same things.
He was exactly doing the same thing. It's a nice ending for our Young Frankenstein talk. What is the next movie on our list, Claire?
Okay, the next movie on our list, very similar to this, is Rocky Horror Picture Show, which also involves creating someone new.
It does. It has and Rocky Horror is definitely a Frankenstein element. He's much better looking in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
So the first time I saw Rocky Horror was at one of those, like, midnight shows where you, like, throw things at the screen. And, like, people are yelling and, like, people, you know, dress up as the characters.
The Virgin Games where... Did you not know about that?
No, we had different games at our thing.
Yeah, so the one... Well, hold on. Do you want to finish your experience?
No, that was it. It was really fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I went to the one here at GW, and basically what they do is it's like the Virgin Games, which is everyone's in line, and if you hadn't been to, like, a live showing of this before, you get a V written on your forehead.
They did do that.
Yeah, and...
they did it on the forehead. Just on the cheek.
Like, they'll question you beforehand, so I would ask you, like, oh, how do you spell Janet? And what would your answer to that be? It's S-L-U-T.
Oh,
so then you, in this case, would get a V written on your forehead, and then when you go in before the show, they did, like, a bunch of inappropriate games, basically.
That's definitely
but yeah, I think it's a
Halloween classic. You can't not watch it.
Good movie, but I think the more interesting thing about this movie is just, like, the whole culture around it.
Yeah.
Because...
it's a weird movie.
It is a weird movie.
I remember... like, watching it and being like, I was not expecting that ending. If you don't know, like, what even is the ending? I don't even know, like, what really happens.
It's like they're aliens from the planet Transylvania. They're transvestites from Transylvania, but they're aliens. Yes. So the whole house is a spaceship, and they just go back to their planet. Yeah.
It has some great songs. It's a great movie musical. Damn it, Janet. The
Sweet Transvestite is my favorite, and then the Time Warp.
Time Warp's a classic.
touchy.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, the thing that's best about that song though is
they're singing, and then like all the extras in this, like the side characters, are all amazing. Like Riff Raff and those two girls. So during the touchy song, the two girls are singing along and also just watching, and they're kind of just like being the audience members.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird, but it's also like they're just funny because they're just like chicks, just like.
Yeah, and the two main characters are like low key dumb.
Yeah. Brad and Janet.
Brad is truly a Chad.
Yeah.
He is. And then I don't know how to explain the plot. Like they go to their like his old professor's castle, and then they get like warped into this. I don't even know like
they just stay there.
Yeah, they just stay
there because I mean their car breaks down,
so they have nowhere to go. But you know, if they wanted to leave, they honestly couldn't they have just left at any time. I think
they definitely could have. I just think like Tim Curry truly enchanted them as he did the entire audience.
Yeah.
I learned that Rocky Horror began as a stage play, which
makes sense.
Which makes a lot of sense because looking at the set, it's all like a very bleak.
Yeah.
Like it looks like it could be recreated on stage.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, but I think it kind of works because like even though all the settings are kind of bleak, like just not much to look at, like all the characters and the makeup and the costumes and like the characters,
I think
have
that's
just such
the best
big
part.
Personalities.
Yeah, I think that's like what makes this movie so fun is that you have like Janet and Brad who are kind of like dumb and like meek and naive, and then you have Dr. Frankenfurter who's like loud and hilarious, and then you have Rocky, who's also just kind of like this weird Frankenstein character who's there.
He's there to look at. He's there to be eye candy.
Yeah, that's basically his description. Then you have basically like the Igor character is, I forgot his name. Riff Raff. Yeah, and he's kind of like creepy and has that long hair and stares and stuff like that. And then you have the guy on the motorcycle.
Oh, I hated his character.
Oh, it's Meatloaf.
Meatloaf? I didn't like Meatloaf. He always creeped me out. He really did.
Oh, I liked his song.
Wait, what was his song?
Whatever happened to Saturday Night or something like that. Like, that's how the lyrics go.
Right. I don't know, because I feel like the songs in this, at least for me, besides Sweet Transvestite and Time Warp and the touchy song, which I just think is and Damage in it.
Yeah.
I forget how many songs there are overall, but like
it's truly like
the opening, I feel like they're either hit or miss. Because there's one song where Janet and Brad are like walking through the woods, which is just like such a slow song, and I wasn't really into it.
I disagree. I think all the songs are fire.
Oh, okay.
I have listened to them on repeat. I think they're fun. One thing I do love about this movie is the costumes.
Yeah.
Are so good. I wanted to be the girl, like I forgot her name. She's like with the guy on the motorcycle.
Oh.
I wanted to be her for Halloween one year, but like it was too complicated.
Oh gosh, wait, yeah, who?
Does she have a name? I don't really know if she does. She has a song in the movie. Oh, Eddie. So the guy on the motorcycle's name is Eddie, but he's played by Meatloaf. Great name.
Yeah. Meatloaf.
Yeah. So his I guess girlfriend. Oh man, when they serve up Eddie, they eat Eddie. That was a great scene.
See, that's probably why I didn't like Eddie. I just thought it was gross they were eating Eddie. I'm not a fan.
You're not a fan of cannibalism?
I don't stand for cannibalism. I'm just hot take, you guys.
Hot take, Claire does not
don't
like cannibalism.
Yeah.
It's always just like a fun time when you watch this movie.
Yeah, it's a fun time. And I think
the one thing, I mean, this is obviously like very campy for a reason, just because all of it's exaggerated.
Yeah, all the characters are exaggerated. All like anything that's happening, the fact that they eat him, is like weird and hilarious.
Yeah,
and I was noticing. I think also editing has a lot to do with if it's campy or not, because some like you can have movies that are edited very seriously, but with this, there's like a lot of fades and like just a lot of quirky editing, like a lot of swipe transitions.
Yeah, they did in Young Frankenstein too, kind of like the like fade into black or like the circle or something like that.
Yeah,
I think that makes it. I think you like to have a like Rocky Horror. I feel like is a successful like camp film. You gotta also like it doesn't just like start with the characters and the writing. You gotta go everywhere. You gotta go directing. You gotta go editing. You gotta go lighting.
Yeah.
It has to all be there to truly be.
The lighting in this was really good. There were some scenes, like, we talked about this before we started filming, actually, but we were talking about the 2 scenes where Dr. Frankenfurt is trying to have sex with both Janet and Brad in 2 different scenes, which we talked about earlier, saying that that's like one of the things that definitely doesn't stand out about or doesn't hold up about that movie, because it's like not consensual.
Yeah. Because obviously they don't know it's Dr. Frankenfurter.
But those 2 scenes have to be filmed in the dark. And I just remember
the backlit.
Yeah.
I remember when I first saw it, I was like, wait, what's happening? Because I was like a young, naive child.
Yeah.
And then I watched it again and I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah.
Now I get it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I just think it's so interesting what movies become like cult classics.
I have to say, I feel like I just realized this.
Yeah.
Is this just like a weird take on Frankenstein?
Yeah.
How did I?
Yeah.
I feel so dumb. I'm like looking at pictures and I'm like, oh, like Dr. Frankenfurter is wearing like a lab coat.
Yeah,
like,
he's a scientist. Transvestite scientist. That's what it says in the Wikipedia page.
We stand transvestite scientists.
Yeah.
I also love how science always kind of has to do with campy as well. Like these 2 movies, they're both like this. Like let's make science weird.
Yeah,
because it is weird.
And isn't that how? Oh gosh, what's that other musical that's like campy? Little Shop of Horror. Does that have to do with science as well?
I think they're doing an eating plant. I've never seen it.
No, neither have I. Yeah, we'll have to do like a Venn diagram and see like campy movies that have to do with science.
Overlap.
Reanimator 2. If you ever heard of that movie, that is also a campy movie that has to do directly with scientists and bringing people back from the dead.
Interesting.
So, the Frankenstein story has been well covered in the camp genre.
We should just do our top 5 Frankenstein films.
Frankenstein remake.
We've already done 2.
Yeah.
We can do others.
Yeah, okay, the one other thing I was just going to say about it is I think it's interesting. So, Rocky Horror, I believe it's a Fox movie.
I think it is.
And so Disney recently acquired Fox, as most people know.
Is it on Disney Plus?
I haven't checked if it's on Disney Plus or not.
I can check.
But it's interesting that Fox movies are allowed to be shown out in different theaters for like one-off events and whatnot. And should I let this? Okay, so what I was saying is Disney is still allowed to show Rocky Horror, but they're not showing other movies because say you wanted Alien shown for like a one-off event during the summer, Disney won't let you do that anymore, but they're not doing that with Rocky Horror because they know if they tell people, oh, you can't play Rocky Horror, more people would lash out against Disney.
Well, it's become such like a cultural thing. Every Halloween they play it. It's become kind of more of an event. It is like the cult classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Let's go on to our number 3 film.
Okay, next we're talking about Clue.
Clue is such a good film. If you don't know, it's based off the board game Clue. And when I first heard this movie, I was like, movies based on games? Is it going to be like that really bad Adam Sandler movie Pixels? Because that was my only reference for game-themed movies. It was not. It is like 10 times better. Probably 1,000 times better than that movie ever could be.
Clue is the best movie based off of game there ever was.
You can't do better. Also starring Tim Curry, might we add.
Yes.
So if you don't know what this Clue, obviously like there's a murder, but basically all these people come to dinner. If they don't know, they were all invited. They don't know who invited them. And basically, a murder happens. They have to figure out who did it. And we have the classic characters,
Mrs. Peacock,
Mrs. White, Colonel Mustard,
Mr. Body. Mr. Green. Mr. Body's a new character they added. Sure. And same with Wadsworth.
Wadsworth is also, that's the butler. And then was there one more character?
Wait, let me pull up. Okay, there was Mrs. Scarlet, Colonel Mustard, Mrs. White, Professor Plum, Mrs. Peacock, Mrs. Green, and then Yvette.
Oh, Yvette.
Who was the maid, who was like the sexy maid.
Yeah, she was the sexy maid.
And Mr. Brody. There's actually not that many characters. And then there's 2 cops who come by, I think. The singing telegram girl, which is a part where I was just laughing so much because it's such a random scene. There's this random telegram that comes to the door and she's like dancing around and then someone shoots her.
Yeah. It was, basically like so many things happen, and as the course of the night goes, more and more people die. Like, the cook dies, the maid dies. There's this guy that comes in on a motorcycle. He dies. The cop that comes in dies. This movie is just done so well.
Yeah. This is, out of all of the movies, I'd say this is the campiest, I think.
Yeah, they really play with, like, how everything is being said. Yeah. And really, like, physical movements as well.
Because it knows it's campy and it really plays into it. For sure.
Just some classic, one of the classic scenes when Mrs. White talks about, so each of them have a secret, and that's why they're there and they're staying there. So, Mrs. White talks about, like, she ended up killing Yvette, who was the maid who was sleeping with her husband, who I guess she also killed. And it's such a good line where she just talks about the flames on the side of my face. And she just keeps saying flames, and it's ridiculous.
She says this so impactful. She's like, flames, flames,
the flames. I just couldn't.
On the side of my face. And everyone's just there looking at her. And they really take time to show everyone's reaction.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah, that's definitely the best line.
And then when they all split up, and they're all like, so one of the characters is, I guess it's supposed to be gay. He's a senator. He's like, I'm gay, I know. And he's paired up with, like, Yvette, who's the sexy...
Who everyone wanted to be paired up with.
Everyone wanted to be paired with, and he's paired up with her, and you just see everyone's face, like, come on.
Yeah. And the cool thing about this movie is when it was released, there's 3 different endings to it, which I thought is brilliant.
It was so good. So when we watched it on Amazon Prime, I think, and they showed all 3 endings. So what ends up happening is, at the end of the film, it's like Mrs. Peacock was the one. No, Scarlet. Scarlet is the
There's one where Mrs. Peacock killed all the victims to conceal taking bribes from foreign powers.
Oh yeah, that was it.
And that's when Wadsworth reveals he's an FBI agent. And then there's another ending that you were talking about with the flames.
That's where Mrs. White. That's where everyone killed someone.
Oh yeah, there's one where everyone killed someone.
Yeah, so there's one where there's 6 people die.
And then there's the other where Mrs. Scarlet tells Yvette, who knows, to kill the cook, and she's the one who's done everything.
Yeah. So when we watched it, I think it first showed like Mrs. Scarlet killing everyone, and then the movie ends, and then all of a sudden it starts back again, and then it's Mrs. Peacock who killed everyone, and you're like, wait a minute, and then it closes, and you're like, okay, that's the ending, and then it starts up again, and it's like, oh, everyone killed, like, everyone, all the 6 people there besides Wadsworth. I thought Wadsworth was the butler. Was he not the butler?
No, Wadsworth is the butler.
No, Wadsworth isn't the FBI agent.
Oh,
It's, what's his face, the senator. Wadsworth was the one who invited them all there.
Yeah, wait. Yeah, I forget. Yeah, you're probably right. I kind of forget, though. Having 3 different endings, it's usually...
It's hard to forget, but then there's one, so 6 people die, and each of the 6 characters, besides one of them, kills someone, and then the senator is like, I'm an FBI agent, and, like, the last line of the film is like, I'm gonna go sleep with my wife.
Yeah, which honestly, they
didn't need to do it. They could have had our gay FBI agent.
Yeah.
Let them be gay.
Yeah, but when this was first showed, they played the movie, and then they only played one of the endings. So when all the reviews came out for it, there was, like, all this confusion about how it ended. But I just thought that was really funny.
I really liked it. When they're running to each room, so when each person explains the murder, they'll run back and forth from each room, like, explaining, being like, oh, and then I was here, and then they would run and go to another room.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there was this one funny scene, because they're just these small details where it's like, that's just so freaking funny, and this didn't need to be added whatsoever. Like, Colonel Mustard says, oh, does anyone want a whiskey? And he poured a whiskey for himself, just regularly into the cup, and then 3 other people said they also wanted whiskey, and he pours them in just, like, such a sloppy way, like, around in a circle, and there's just whiskey getting everywhere, and it was just like, what the heck?
No, I also love how they shot, like, they were, like, obviously this is also kind of like a homage to the, like, noir detective films, because there were so many scenes where there was just, like, because the lights would go off and then it would be pitch black and someone would go murder someone every time that happened. So that was really fun. But one of my favorite scenes is when Wadsworth is like, oh, that's 3 more murders, and Mr. Green's like 6 altogether, and Wadsworth's like, this is getting serious, as if one murder was not serious and the cops were showing up.
Yeah. Oh, and actually there's another funny part with counting. It's like,
2 plus 2 is...
Yeah, they're trying to figure out...
7. No, it's 2 plus 2 plus 2. I forgot it was. They keep adding things up.
Yeah.
I also, my favorite character was Mrs. White, who clearly killed her husband. One of my favorite lines is when one of the characters is like, your first husband also, when they're accusing her of killing all of her husbands, because she's had 2 or 3 at this point. One of the characters goes, your first husband also disappeared, and Mrs. White goes, but that was his job. He was an illusionist. And then the guy goes, but he never reappeared. And Mrs. White goes, he wasn't a very good illusionist.
Yeah, no, I love her.
It's things like that made it so great, because the writing was so on point and so clever and witty and punny and everything. It was so good.
Yeah, I think Clue definitely still holds up.
Clue holds up in every way.
Just because the humor of it isn't necessarily tied to the time period.
Yeah, it's not. It's just tied to these characters who they're terrible people. They all kill someone. They all had this terrible secret.
Yeah.
So there's no point in empathizing with these characters. So they don't need to still be good people today to watch the movie. You're still intrigued by the mystery.
Yeah, I feel like Clue is a movie I'm going to be thinking about in at least the next week, because Knives Out is coming out, which is very similar to Clue.
That was when I was watching this, or when I went online searching up, that came on my Google as an ad, and I'm like, yeah, it's definitely
just same whodunit thing, and
but this time it's more of a showy detective than it is a bunch of people who
don't
have
know
no
anything,
idea what they're doing
and are literally just I also liked to see how they incorporated the game. The house was really cool, and they had all the weapons. Each of them had a weapon.
Yeah.
It's because they gave them all a weapon.
Yeah. Did you play the game? You said you didn't play Clue?
I played it completely wrong. I think we would start playing and get bored.
Yeah, I played it one time, but I know there's some people who are so dedicated to the game. But from what I know about the game, it seemed like
it's usually one person that does the murder.
Yeah, but it just seemed like the game Clue, or the movie Clue, incorporated the game very well into the movie. Well.
I think also Clue happens to be one of those games where you start out with characters, they made up backstories for these characters and stuff like that, that weren't necessarily from the game, but I feel they incorporated it really well without it being cheesy at all. You knew it was going to be a movie about a board game, but it was still a great whodunit.
Yeah. Oh, and if you have time, look up the poster of Clue, because my problem, I don't have it pulled up, but I feel like the art of making posters just isn't done as well anymore, because we've got trailers and stuff, and I really love the Clue poster. I just think it's really cool looking. No, not that one.
They have a redone one.
It just says here is it. It's got the house on it, and it says, was it, and then the list of name blank in the blank with the blank.
I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really good. It says Clue. The tagline is, it's not just the game anymore. Yeah, because people die. It's called murder.
It's serious now.
This is getting serious now.
But yeah, good movie. I think this might be out of all the movies we talk about, I think Clue might be my favorite.
I think it is my favorite.
I agree, it is. It is one of my favorite. I feel like we're talking about the one thing that didn't end well. The psychologist, or who was a psychiatrist or something, that sleeps with his patient.
Oh my
god. Who happened to be the singing telegram girl who died. I also like how they tie everything together. It's so... I think what also makes this movie camp is that everything ties together in the most ridiculous ways possible.
Yeah.
The cop that comes at the door ends up being the cop that Mrs. Scarlett was bribing with money. And then the cook happened to be the cook that Mrs. Peacock used to know, or something like that. It was all when they were revealing everything, you literally could not have guessed it, just from how ridiculous everything was, and I think that was the most fun.
Yeah, no, for sure. Anything else you have to say about Clue?
No, it was good. If you're gonna watch any of the movies on this list, please watch Clue.
Yeah, definitely watch Clue.
I would never have seen it if Claire had not recommended it.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go on to...
Okay, next we're talking about Showgirls.
Which is a movie that did not age well at all. No. So why did we pick this movie, Claire? Because I did not enjoy it.
Okay, I wanted to choose Showgirls because there's a YouTube page I watch, and the people always talk about Showgirls and how, like, crazy it is of a movie. And when we were
that is true.
And when we were trying to, because I do think it fits the genre of camp pretty well.
Because anything in this movie, like, happens.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like it's Las Vegas, too. It takes place in Las Vegas. So, like, and it's obviously, like, the Vegas Showgirls aesthetic.
It's such a roller coaster.
It really is.
Such a roller coaster.
This movie there's just so much that goes on. Like, I have to, like, literally half of my notes is, like, what is going on. Because I truly...
Alright, well, let's start off. Did you like the character Naomi?
No!
No, really?
Nomi?
Oh,
Her name's Nomi.
Nomi? I loved her.
Okay, I think I liked her towards the end, but in the beginning, she was like a child. I guess because she is a child, but they don't specify her age, so, like, she looks like she's, like, in her 20s, so I'm like, I guess she's in her 20s.
Yeah.
But when she gets all her stuff stolen, and that nice girl is giving her food, she just, like, throws the french fries and gets all upset.
Yeah. No, Molly is
calm down. Calm yourself.
Yeah, no, out of all the characters, Molly is the only character who does nothing wrong.
She does nothing wrong, and she gets everything wrong done towards her.
I know.
Which is terrible.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, so if you don't know what Showgirls about, basically about this character, Nomi, who goes to Las Vegas, and she wants to be a showgirl, but she ends up working as a stripper. And then all of her friends, like, insult her for working as a stripper. And then she ends up becoming, like, one of the dancers for one of these, like, big Las Vegas productions. And then so many things happen within that. Like, that could have just been one movie. You could have made, like, 4 movies.
You know, I think this almost would have been better as an HBO miniseries.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that just because, like, there was so much going on. Like, I'm just gonna read out some plot points. Nomi has sex with Kyle MacLachlan in, like, a pool. If you don't know, so Kyle MacLachlan plays, like, the creative director or something like that. And he was sleeping with Crystal, who was the head showgirl. And then, like, Molly, unfortunately, gets beaten up and raped at, like, towards the end of the film, which I think was entirely unnecessary.
I was going to say, didn't need to include that at all. When
also, the fact that she's one of the only, like, female, like, person of color, and she does nothing wrong, and she gets all this hardship, like, put upon her was terrible.
I think they do bring up a good point in this. Like, the one I left thinking of the one line where there's the one guy who compares the the show is Goddess, that's what it's called, and it's, like, very good dancing, but they all have their shirts off.
Yeah.
So there's a one guy who's comparing that show to the stripper show, and he's saying, like, oh, at least the stripper show is more honest because people go there and are, like, open about what they want, opposed to going to the Goddess where, like, they are going for the same things, but they're being less open about why they're going.
You get paid more as a dancer for Goddess, though, than you would as a stripper.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like that could be a difference. Also, if we're going to talk about stripper movies, is it going to beat Hustlers?
No, of course not.
I was watching the stripper scenes, and I'm like, this isn't as good as Hustlers.
Oh, yeah, no, she's, like, such a bad dancer.
She really is.
Like, in the beginning of the movie, I was trying to understand, like, do I think she's a bad dancer, or do they want me in this world to believe that she's a good dancer? Like, I couldn't figure it out, because there were some scenes where it looked like she was just kind of
probably used a body double.
Yeah.
And then they just probably didn't edit it correctly, because there were some moments where she, like, was, like, waving her arms.
I know.
I don't know what she was trying to do.
It was also a really interesting dynamic between Crystal and Naomi? Nomi. Oh my gosh. Okay, Crystal and Nomi, because I could never tell, is Crystal trying to help her or does she hate her? It's very complicated and goes back and forth a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I just could never figure out where Crystal stood.
I agree.
And what her motives were, besides just, like, fucking around.
She got pushed down a flight of stairs.
Yeah, she did.
And then she was like, I'm fine with it, I got a big money settlement. And I'm like, same girl. But also, I felt like the dancers backstage that weren't Nomi, Crystal, or Molly, who's not a dancer, but she was, like, they were really, like, cringy.
Yeah.
They were always yelling at each other, and there was that one guy who was like, oh, I'm the only hetero man here, and he just, like, touches women's ass.
Yeah.
Like, this was definitely a time where, like, sexual harassment was seen as, like, a funny thing, because that's constantly happening.
What a good joke.
What a good joke. Let's just touch women's asses without their consent, or, you know, like the guy at the strip club. Let's make my strippers suck my dick.
Yeah,
so I can. Horrible. I don't know. That's terrible. So they can have a job, which is terrible.
Yeah.
And I just felt like and they had like the like homosexual dancers who were like so stereotypical, and I'm just like, the dancers backstage were just super one note and like cringy to watch. Like if you were not a main character, you were not playing a good role.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
Also the free flowing cocaine.
Yeah, that was, a lot of drug abuse in this.
But, like, such casual drug abuse.
Yeah.
Just, like, Crystal, who's casually, like, in the theater snorting cocaine. Like, I get it, you're the head girl here, but you probably shouldn't be doing it in the theater seats. Probably not a good idea.
Yeah, but, it's Las Vegas, so I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows? It's fictional Las Vegas, and anything could happen in fictional Las Vegas.
Really? Anything? And then, so at the end of the movie, so because what you like end up knowing is that Nomi is not really her first name. I forgot what her first name is, but she was like a runaway. I guess did she used to be a prostitute or?
No, she killed people, didn't she?
I thought she just assaulted people.
Yeah.
I thought it was
but they really don't talk about her background. That's like a very end thing.
Yeah, it's towards the end of the movie, and I'm like, I found Nomi kind of likable because she was very brat. Like she had this really hard exterior, and she was always insulting people, and I was like, it was always one note for like the longest time. Like the whole movie, she was just trying to become this showgirl. Oh. And she would do it, whatever, like, she would take advantage of people, and she, like, wasn't, like, I don't like how she treated Molly.
No,
who
not at all.
clearly had a crush on her, and, like, I don't know, it was just kind of, she was kind of odd, and she would always, like, she thought she was better than everyone else. Yeah. And I'm like, girl, calm down. We know you're not that good of a dancer. We see you on the movie.
I guess I just liked her because of her determination. I respect characters with determination.
Yeah, I respect her determination, but I think she also just was like, I have to be this, like, sassy, hardcore woman all the time. And then when you find out, like, oh, it's because of this background, it's more, like, kind of thrown in at the end.
Okay, so...
Like, she's not I feel like for me, she's not a full character.
So, about the background, her real name was Polly, and she was a runaway and prostitute after her parents' murder-suicide.
Oh, God.
And
like, that's a terrible thing to happen. Like, why do you have to add that?
Yeah, and she was arrested several times for drug possession, prostitution, and assault with a deadly weapon.
So I guess not murder.
Yeah.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah, so this was certainly a movie.
This was certainly, again, I feel like the acting as well, it's just, like, not even over the top. Like, it feels like they're not trying. Like, some of the scenes when, like, they're like, doing fighting or something like that, like, she just over-dramatizes what she's saying. And, like, truth be told, when I, like, saw Kyle MacLachlan there, I was like, I might as well finish this movie. And he did not disappoint. He was so tan in this movie.
He was horrible. He was a horrible person.
He was a terrible human being.
Like, there was the one scene where Crystal is with Crystal told Nomi to go, like, go do this event. And there's a guy at the event who said, like, oh, you and your girl should come back to the hotel with us, or to a restaurant. Yeah. Which is, like, heavily implied, like, oh, you guys have to come back with us and have sex with us. And she's like, absolutely not, and goes to tell Zach. And Zach yells at the guy, like, really yells at him. So at that point, I was like, oh, look at Zach, like, doing the right thing. And then as soon as she leaves the room, Zach calls back up the guy and is, like, kind of joking about it. And it's just, like, whenever there was a guy character on screen, like, I was just not safe. No one was safe.
No one was safe from the men in this movie. They're all terrible human beings.
They were really bad. All of them were really bad in this.
Yeah, they were all terrible. And then she, like, ends up beating up the guy that, like, beat up Molly, right?
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to, like, reveal her like, past, I guess, and get in trouble. So she's like, I'm going to take matters into my own hand. And, like, that was a kind of nice ending. She had been, bested by the men in her life. Even in the beginning of the movie, she gets her stuff stolen by some hitchhiker no, she's the hitchhiker. the guy she hitchhikes with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was kind of nice. But yeah, there were just, like, so many unnecessary things. And, like, the way they depicted sex was over the top.
Yeah,
oh my God.
it was crazy.
That scene in the fountain was insane.
Yeah, it looked like she was just, like, kind of having a spasm.
Yeah,
like,
she didn't just have to... She would, like, bend over.
Yeah.
The same thing with the lap dance. She gives Kyle MacLachlan the lap dance as the head showgirl watches.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, this weird sexual thing. This was, I think, the first, like, NC-17 movie to be, like, wide release.
Oh, wow.
It did not break even. It cost $45 million to make. And I think it only made, like, $37 million or, like, $38 million or something like that. Which was something else.
Yeah. I'm glad I watched it, though.
I could not say the same. I do not. Like, if you want to, like, laugh and see, like, how... when was this made?
Oh, it was made in 1995.
Oh my God, that's not if you want to laugh at what people thought was good at 1995, and if you couldn't have guessed, this movie was written and directed by a man.
Yeah.
I don't know if people thought this was good in 1995.
People didn't. Oh, I think like the idea is, like, if you want to see what these two men thought people would want in 1995.
Oh yeah, wait. It says negative theatrical and critical consensus. But Showgirls enjoy success on the home video market, generating more than $100 million from video rentals.
Oh,
so
wow.
people didn't want to go out and watch this
People-
video, but people wanted to watch this in secret, which kind of says a lot about, that kind of relates to the main theme of wanting to see things in secret and going to the goddess show instead of the strip club.
Yeah, but also, like, let's face it, some of that has to be, there's so much nudity in this film.
Yeah.
And might I add, all female nudity.
Yeah.
For exactly, they were expecting a male audience.
Yeah. So, if you guys want to see a really good movie about strippers,
Go watch Hustlers.
Go see Hustlers.
This podcast is a plug-in for Hustlers.
We loved Hustlers. We'll have to...
Jennifer Lopez is great.
We'll have to talk about Hustlers
Another time.
time.
If you want to see a terrible movie about strippers in Las Vegas, like, I guess watch Showgirls, but do it in your home. Don't screen it.
Yeah, don't watch this. Family fun forever. Watch it with the whole family, folks.
Yeah, you can scar your children.
Yeah.
So I think I should wrap up our Showgirls talk. And our last movie is a good one. It's Charlie's Angels. Not the 1970 TV show. The movie starring Lucy Liu, Drew Barrymore, Cameron Diaz. There was that other guy.
Sam Rockwell.
Oh my God.
Tim Curry.
Yeah,
again.
Tim Curry again.
Oh my God. We went three Tim Curry movies.
So basically Tim Curry makes good camp movies. That's all we're going to say for now. But yeah, so this was the movie that started the idea of doing this episode, because I had obviously, you don't know, the new movie came out. It did not do as well at all.
No.
Personally, Claire and I liked it, but we're not here to talk about the new Charlie's Angels. We're here to talk about the 2000 is when it came out. And I was like, Claire hadn't seen it, and we have to watch it because it's a wild ride. And I had forgot what happens in this movie. When I rewatched it, it was truly wild. Yeah. This movie is, like, goofy and super, like, it doesn't take itself seriously, even though the acting, like, is. Like, you can tell that like, the direction was like, okay, you have to do this seriously, but, like, it's such a joke. Yeah. Like, the costumes were outrageous and, like, overtly sexual because they were female spies and they have to, use their sexuality against.
But it was more, like, the sexuality, at least in this movie, felt like the characters wanting to express their own sexuality.
No, that's how I feel that, too. I think
rather than, like, I don't know.
It was definitely more like tongue-in-cheek, where it's like, oh, like, we want to dress like this because, let's face it, men are dumb and they can't see past anything. Yeah. If, like, we're showing skin, which I thought was, like, super fun. So, basically, the basis and plot of this movie is there are 3 spies, and they have to get this, like, the plot is always very thin. They have to get this, like, software that they think was stolen from, like, this kind of, like, Napster-looking dude. And that's basically it. I did think there was more to this movie, but there isn't. But, like, it makes up for it. It was a fun ride. I forgot that I had a crush on Sam Rockwell until I saw this movie, and I was like, oh, I remember him being cute. And then I was like, oh, wait, it's Sam Rockwell. It's a weird thought now.
Yeah. I was honestly, like, skeptical going into this movie, not having seen it before, which is weird because, like, growing up, I loved Totally Spies, and Totally Spies is just Charlie's Angels, really.
Yeah.
But I was just really hooked from the first scene where you've got Ice Cube walking into first class.
I thought it was not Ice Cube.
Was it? It's not Ice Cube? LL Cool J? Okay, it was LL Cool J. I wrote
in
down...
this completely, like, interior red plane.
Yeah.
And he gets these diamonds and then pulls off a mask. And it's Drew Barrymore, who's not LL Cool J.
Yeah.
It was such a great way to start this film.
Mm-hmm. And I just think, like, I just love the dynamic between the three girls because it was such, like, a fun friendship, and they all just, like, really loved each other, and,
Matt LeBlanc is in this movie.
Yeah, he is. Not a fan of his character, though.
His character's alright. Lucy Liu deserved better.
She really does. I think she was my favorite out of the three. I love Lucy Liu's character in this.
Too. And each of them kind of, like, represent, like, I love in this movie they do, like, these backgrounds as, like, the credits.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're introducing each character, they'll have, like, a little clip from, like, their background. So it's, like, you know, Lucy Liu's character was, like, super academic and really, like, did gymnastics, like, very, I think, constrained. And then you have, like, Drew Barrymore's character is, like, this, like, rock and roll, like, badass girl. And then you have Cameron Diaz, who's just, like, quirky.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, quirky and weird and, like, super smart. So it was always really fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just love, like, this, like, in those sequences, like, all this crazy stuff is happening. And it's just, like, so it's all so random. It's all so random. And it just makes it so much fun. And it seemed like everyone involved was just having fun with it, you know?
I agree.
It's just, this is a good sleepover movie.
It is. Like, if you're in the mood to have a fun time, like, go watch Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
We also cannot talk about Charlie's Angels without talking about the Thin Man.
Yeah.
So if you have not watched these films, there is a character played, I don't know who he is. He plays Mr. World on American Gods, if you ever seen that TV show. But he shows up in the film. He's like this kind of assassin guy. He does not say a single word in the entire movie, which, fun fact, was the actor's choice. Like, he had lines, and the actor was like, I don't want to say them. I'm going to not say anything. And he goes out the entire movie, like, staring and, like, taking Drew Barrymore's hair and, like, sniffing it. And it was the weirdest thing. It's the one thing I, like, vividly remember about these movies. Is him, like, sniffing and yelling. Yeah. That's all he does. Yeah. And then he'll, like, kill people. But, like, that's all he does. Mm-hmm. And, like, they give him a backstory in Full Throttle, which is, like, the second Charlie's Angels
Which was honestly my favorite part of that movie.
Full Throttle, the reason I feel like the first Charlie's Angels is better than Full Throttle is that Full Throttle could have been about 4 different movies. Mm-hmm. There is so much happening in Full Throttle that, like, it was wild. Like, Shia LaBeouf is in that movie for no reason whatsoever.
It was still a fun movie, but it was a lot less tight than this one was.
Yes, I think they have to start with one random plot. Mm-hmm. Don't give us, like, Full Throttle had about 4 plots going on, and none of them truly ended that well. Mm-hmm. Like, you're introduced to Shia LaBeouf thinking he's going to be this, like, character in the film, and at this point, I think he had just been on Even Stevens, so, like, people knew who he was. Mm-hmm. And then, that's it, he's kind of just nothing. Yeah.
But I think you were saying that, you were speculating, if they were going to make a new one, did they want what's his face, Shia LaBeouf, to be the new Bosley?
So that's what I thought. If you watch Full Throttle, at the end of the film, Shia LaBeouf, because he was like an orphan, gets taken in by Bosley, which in the film is like a family. Mm-hmm. And so all the Bosleys are Charlie's Angels in the first one, it seems very small, like it's a small spy community. Yeah. And the second one, it kind of grows, and then obviously in the most recent one, it's like a huge international thing. Yeah. But yeah, so in the film, he's like, oh, Shia LaBeouf is like, oh, I'm a Bosley now, and I'm like, okay, cool. Is he like, did they want to make another film where like he's a Bosley, or did they really just throw this in there for absolutely no reason? Mm-hmm. And then they bring back the Thin Man for no reason. Mm-hmm. Like they give the Thin Man like a literal backstory about like being an orphan at this like nun place
with Carrie Fisher as the
Carrie
nun.
Fisher as the nun. Look,
which you called.
Yeah, we were watching it, and I was like, is that Carrie Fisher? And Claire was like, no. And then we looked it up, and it was Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, there were so many times we were watching it, and you were like, oh, is that so-and-so? And it ended up being that person. Like, you were really on your game.
I was. It was a good time watching.
Mm-hmm.
So they give him a backstory where, like, And they still don't explain why he likes pulling hair and, like, smelling it.
Yeah.
That's not explained. And then he dies. They kill him off. And he has, like, a kiss with Drew Barrymore.
That was so weird.
Which, like, isn't explained because, the past 2 movies, he's been pulling out her hair, smelling it, and then, like, staring at her, but also trying to kill her. So it's very confusing. And then at the end, he's, like, fighting for the Charlie's Angels, even though he killed someone in the beginning of the movie that was, like, against the Charlie's Angels. It was very odd.
It was weird, but it's just better if you don't question it and just go along for the ride, because it's still totally worth watching.
I'm just sad they killed him.
Yeah.
Like, his relationship was weird with Drew Barrymore, but, like, would I have seen it? Like, yeah, I would have. It was weird.
Oh, another part I want to talk about in the first movie was Chad. Yeah.
So Chad is, like, kind of in a relationship with Drew Barrymore, but not really. And he's just, like, this sweet, like, dumb man who, like, talks about himself in the third person, which can usually be seen as a very douchey thing to do. But for him, it's just, like, it's Chad.
Like, he owned a boat. He wasn't too showy about it. I think he lived on it. Did he live on his boat?
He did live on his boat.
Yeah.
You don't really know what his job is.
No, he didn't really fit the Chad personality.
He's not. If you know the frat bro Chad personality, this is not one of those.
He was a good Chad. He helped them at the end.
He helped them.
Just really wanted to give a shout out to Chad, the only good one.
They do have, like, the male villains in this movie are hilarious.
Yeah.
Start with Sam Rockwell. He
so
starts out as, like,
good.
this nerdy kid, and then he ends up being like, nah, I'm a villain.
Yeah.
And he dances in this movie, which is hilarious. And the fighting in this movie too is also super, like, kind of through, like, the early 2000s. Like, you can tell they're on wires in scenes.
Oh, but that just adds.
Yeah, that adds to it. 'Cause there's no way they could possibly be, like, jumping that high. The other male villain in Full Throttle is basically, it's Justin Theroux with a mohawk, super ripped, like, he's in great shape with an Irish accent. Like, that is who the character is. And he's basically Colin Farrell, but they could not get Colin Farrell. So therefore, they just made Justin Theroux have a super bad Irish accent.
He shouldn't have had an accent.
He shouldn't have.
It was a very... took you out of the movie for sure.
It definitely did. When he first came on, because I didn't remember he was Irish, I just remember it was Justin Theroux. And I was like, did they want Colin Farrell and just, like, couldn't get him? Like this character is truly Colin Farrell. Like, Colin Farrell could have done it better.
Oh, of course. I'm not doubting it at all.
I'm a little sad about that.
Yeah.
The villain in Full Throttle is an angel turned villain, which was that was a good twist. Even though, like, you saw it coming Yeah, no, that was a good twist. I just hate when there's girl-female characters going against, like, the main girl group. I don't know. I would always just have them defeat a man than I would a woman. I think that's because we are women.
Yeah.
And, like, why pit women against each other?
Yeah, that's
they
my
can
thing.
Easily go together and go against the patriarchy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like they also could have fleshed out her character. Like, they didn't really say why she turned. Oh, they kind of did.
Yeah, they did, because she was going to...
She got, like, kidnapped on a mission, and she's like, oh, you didn't save me in time, or something like that. And then so she, like, decided to go against them, and I'm like, I guess that's a reason, but it was just, like, it was just kind of just like, okay, that's it. Like, there was no kind of backstory besides that about, like, how hard she was working or how she even got into the Angels or anything like that. So, like, what it meant that she would turn on them was, like, something else. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just...
Yeah. I liked in the newest movie, though, the 2019 one, they did reference, like, angels who turned.
There were some good shout-outs to the former movies in the new Charlie's Angels.
Like, they had some of the costumes in the new movie.
Yeah.
Like, just in the closet, which was just a good nod. Be like, oh my gosh, I recognize that. Like, they had the one Swedish outfits.
Yeah.
Which, all the costumes were just really good. They were just so fun.
The costumes in Charlie's Angels were great.
Yeah.
They were, like, they were, like, those sexy Halloween costumes, basically, but, like, better made.
Yeah.
And they looked better.
Like, the one scene where Lucy Liu is wearing, like, this leather black skirt.
Oh, that's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah, she goes to, like, this company where they're trying to steal the data from in the first movie. And she basically plays this, like, dominatrix woman. And that's her, what's her face? Melissa McCarthy is in that scene as
Oh,
well. She plays like the
right.
assistant,
Yeah.
like, the female assistant who's like, who are you? And all the male colleagues are like, you know, all over this woman because she's, you know, domineering, and she tells them what's up, and she tells them their ideas stuff, but also that they're good. So it was a fun scene. I think overall, like, this was a really fun movie. It ups like the exaggeration, but like it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Yeah.
I think if you like go into this movie with an open mind and like a mindset of like, let's just like have a fun watch.
Yeah.
Like, you'll definitely have a fun time watching this.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
I already said my thing about Colin Farrell, so like I'm good.
Yeah, that was probably the most important thing you'll get out of this whole podcast.
Truly,
Yeah.
It's a conspiracy theory.
So, would you remake this if you had the chance to remake the second movie with Colin Farrell?
I would.
You would, yeah.
I would. I think also, I think the newest Charlie's Angels I think was good, but I think like where they went off is that they took from like existing stuff and they just kind of added to it. I think they could have like made their own. Like, it would have been cool if it was like a Charlie's Angels in like completely different country.
Yeah.
I think that would have been cool. Like a Charlie's Angels in like, I don't know, like China or like Africa or something. And just been like, oh, what is it like for those like women to be spies there instead of just like adding to like the American franchise.
Yeah, no, my big thing about that movie is they're not friends in it. Like, it seems like they'll all be friends if they do another movie, which I do not think they will.
Oh, you
But
mean in the new Charlie's
in the
Angels?
new Charlie's
They're
Angels,
definitely
yeah.
not making another movie.
Yeah, no, they're not making another movie, but I just didn't like how, because my favorite thing about this was just seeing them all interact with each other in just such a friendly, nice way. And
I
just
think
like,
they had that in this film. I think definitely in like the like 2000 films, like they start off as friends.
yeah, and I wish they would have done that for the new
Yeah.
movie. I think that would have made it better.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, female friendship is great.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed our camp films. If you have any films that you think should have made the list, please let us know in the comments.
Please do.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.